Hi, everybody. It's Julie Huck with the Agent of Change platform. And today I have my friend Jeff Wang with Keller Williams here to talk about parenting in real estate and parenting as a father. So today I really wanted to bring Jeff in because he is an excellent real estate agent and he's also an excellent father. And so I wanted to really just dig in with you, Jeff, today about what it's been like being transitioning into real estate and becoming a father and managing it all together. So first, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, tell us about your family?
Sure. Thanks for having me. Um, I've been in real estate. This is the start of my fifth year full time. For 15 years before this, I was in healthcare sales. I was selling a consulting service to hospitals that would affect patient care and just the performance, typically within the nursing areas. So I really cut my teeth in the sales world on cold calling, on presenting in person, and selling a service, because ultimately that's kind of that's what we're doing in real estate, is selling a service. So I was
Mhm.
doing that, and my wife and I moved back to Cleveland from Columbus, and I was doing that job remotely. And the guy who helped us find our house, Dan Malloy, um, I was starting to kind of, I'd been in that role for a long time, and just was looking for a change. And so I
Mhm.
was networking with different professionals who, like, Dan is, he knows a lot of successful people. So I felt like, let me talk to my real estate agent and see if he knew anyone hiring or something in the sales world. So we had lunch, and he's like, I think you would be good at real estate if you wanted to try that. And I said, all right, well, I guess, if nothing else, I can start it part-time on the side, see how that goes. And if it takes off, great. If it doesn't, or if another opportunity comes up, great.
Mhm.
And so I think I was part-time for 9 months, and had a couple really big deals come through. And he's just like, people don't kind of come out of the gate hitting some big things like this, like you have. He's like, I think, if you would be open to going full time, I think you do really well at this. And
Mhm.
so that's what I did. I kind of bit the bullet and said, all right, let me jump into this and see if this is something that works. I resigned. I spent the first 3 months of kind of full time going through all the MLS classes and all the things I probably should have done when I started part time.
Sure.
Um, but I've always just kind of, my mentality is leading with revenue and sales, and then I let kind of everything else. I'll figure everything else out later if the
Mhm.
money's coming in. So so then I went completely full time January 1st of 2020, which was a pretty significant event going on in the world 3 months after I just went.
Oof. That's,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that was kind of crazy. Um, and loved it ever since. And from a family perspective, my wife's name is Cassie. She works in a full time, a real job. Your 9 to 5. She's actually with the same company that I was
Mm.
with for all those years still. So we have 3 kids, 8, 6, and 4, all boys. Weston, White, and Walker, and a dog, and that's kind of what we manage. So I've been now, this is in almost my, well, what, 4.5 years in full-time real estate. I've been thankful and very blessed that every year I've continued to grow in revenue, and this year is the same. Just some great things happen, and very fortunate to have that. And someone had told me in the beginning, they're like, if you can make it 5 years, you're good to go. Not that you don't have to do any work, but your referrals should hopefully start to kick in, year
Mm.
4 or 5. So I've had more of that this year. So yeah, just juggling a family. I coach all my kids' sports too, so like that's important to me. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of juggling with practices. wear the cleats, wear the uniforms every day, and trying to figure out where everything's at, and just loving that. So that's a
Huh.
little bit about family.
Yeah, so it's interesting. So you said your wife Cassie works full
Mhm.
time as well. Does she work from home or does she leave the house?
Yes, she does work from home. In fact,
Okay.
she's got the real office, and I'm kind of in a makeshift front room here that we've made work. She's on a lot of video calls, a lot of
Okay.
just calls in general. So at least she's got two doors that we can shut. So when the kids are home,
Yes.
especially in the summer, which is probably our most challenging time, um,
Mhm.
she's in there, and it's pretty rigorous. She doesn't have the flexibility that I have to kind of come and go. She's a sales role where they're looking at number of calls in a day and how many contacts you're making. So
Mm.
it's hard for her to step away. So um, yes, and she's has a really tense, kind of stressful job too. Um, I think hers is more than ours. Um, and I think that comes from some of the flexibility that
Mhm.
we have.
Well, I mean, you're your own boss, right? So
Mhm.
you're an entrepreneur, you're running your own company. So it does come with different stressors, right? But you get to decide what you do and don't do versus working for a big corporation. So I'm sure
Mhm.
it's just a little bit night and day. And it's interesting that you say that because I know with a lot of newer agents that join our team, a lot of times when you go from working a corporate role and sharing those kind of responsibilities that you both have a boss to answer to, you both have hours that you have to, be present at, to one person is now flexible,
Mhm.
that can cause a lot of tension in a relationship because I've heard, and I'm curious what happened with your transition into real estate. The spouse that has the job that they have to answer to their boss or the corporation is like, hey, you're the flexible one. You're
Mhm.
the one that needs to do X, Y, and Z. And we know as real estate agents, we don't get paid unless we're lead generating and keeping a schedule and actually working a 40-hour week job, right? So how did you two manage that? Like, what did your communication look like, and what kind of resources did you have to find to help you along that transition?
Mm,
Hmm.
she's been the biggest resource Cassie has.
Uh,
Um, like all along, it's been like we just find a way to get things done.
mhm.
There'll be times when um, this morning I had, since I have the more flexible job, a lot of the drop offs and like just the carting kids around falls onto me. Not that she doesn't do any, but I'm
Yeah.
kind of the first one, and then she's kind of the backup. Um, but we just talked about it that early on that because she has a more stable income,
Mm.
or a stable income, that she knows and has to be flexible with some of the things that I have to do. So that's been huge. I mean, like the folks who do this as single parents, like there is nothing harder. And now being a parent, I understand that so fully that if I didn't have her, and from in the beginning when you don't really make money or not a lot of money, or
Right.
going from what I had to real estate, like there was a little bit of a downturn in income. So we needed, her salary and her work. So I had to keep the kids out of her office during COVID and all that time, so that she could kind of keep us going with the lifestyle that we're used to. Now, we talked about it when I jumped into this, that we'll probably take a dip as far
Mhm.
as revenue goes, and it was end up being like less than we thought, and now kind of water under the bridge. But that was huge in the beginning. So
Right.
there's a lot of communication. We have conversations almost every night, like, okay, what's your day tomorrow? Because what we do is can be so last minute at times. And
Mhm.
can you pick up kids when? Does my mom have to come and like pick up the kids? And my parents are helpful with this kind of stuff. So it's just a constant shuffling of schedules, and we sit there like with our phones, with our schedules up, like, okay, I have this call tomorrow, and if she's got calls she can't schedule or move around, then we have to find another way around. So it's just been a lot of great communication, and we have to schedule things, like we have to immediately put them in calendars,
Mhm.
as far as kids camps and stuff, to be there. And if we didn't have that, and she's and believe I'm acting like I'm organized, like I'm not really, that's not my strength. She is, thankfully. So she keeps this calendar updated, uh,
Mm.
and that's one of the, we talk about leverage a lot too, and that's one of the things that we've had used more of. I've hired a transaction coordinator, um, and hired some different people for different odds and ends jobs, that of things that we do that can free me up,
Mhm.
which, and we're still looking into more
Mhm.
leverage type resources for us too.
Yeah, so what I heard you say is your calendar is the most important part of you staying organized in your communication. And there's a bold law that says it's not about selling real estate, it's about following a schedule, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I will say this over and over again, if you don't have your schedule completely locked down the week before, and then you're constantly looking at it all week and adjusting and maneuvering, and if that's not in place,
Yeah.
you don't have clarity on what the most important things for the week are, right? So um, you talked about your kids and how you're a coach for them, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm assuming that's really important to you, that you're not going to not coach a baseball game, or I don't know what
Hmm.
sports do they play, Jeff?
Baseball, soccer, football,
All of
wrestling.
the
Mhm.
above.
Yeah.
Three strapping young boys
Yes. Yes.
playing all the things, which is a lot to manage, and you want to be part of it. And I'm assuming that's why you got into this business in the first place, because you're able to. But if those aren't in your schedule, then you don't know what to tell clients, and you don't know when you're able
Hmm.
to go on listing appointments or showing appointments. So um, that's really, really important, I think, for everyone to hear. Is I really think that our job is like logistics
Oh yeah.
specialists,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
That's most of it for sure.
Yes.
Um,
What do you think your biggest challenge is on a day-to-day basis, like with your daily life and your routine?
Well, I think, and maybe this isn't specifically what you're getting to, but it's balancing, the things that you have to do with the things that you want to do,
Mm,
like with your kids.
okay.
So a lot of times I will, like if they want to come in and like play catch or something,
Mhm.
I'll I'll show them what I'm working on. Like I'll say, look at this house. Do you see this house here? What do you like about this house?
Mhm.
Kind of like scroll through the pictures, and then they get a kick out of that, because then now they're a little bit engaged as to why, like, I can't go out right now. So
Mm,
I'll say, let's look at this, um, and they like that. I'll take them to houses with me sometimes. Like uh, if I've got to go preview something. In fact, I took all three of them the other day to this really bad looking house. It sold. It sold last week. It's great out, but it was vacant, and it was, an estate, and it hadn't been, where you go in and, most of the lights don't work, and it's dirty, and there's just stuff everywhere. And it was
Mhm.
just so funny. We walked in, and they just all like stopped, and they're like, "What is this place?" I'm like, and then they wouldn't even move forward. They're all like standing behind me, and I had a flashlight. Like, come on, let's
Mhm.
go see this. So I try to engage them in what's going on. Um, because I think a lot of times it's guilt too that I feel.
Yeah. Oh, that's real. It's a lot to manage. And I think that I know for us, we feel that all the time too, because they're way more important than anything you're doing in your job, right?
Oh
Those
yeah.
3
Oh
boys.
yeah. And
Wow.
how many minutes is it? I knew it would be like 20 minutes before I started crying about something.
Oh,
Let's see how far I get.
I
It's not
love
even
it.
like it's not even the and I know that what we do, like I'm probably around them way more than most
Mm,
parents are, like you're but when you can't do those things, that's why I try to get them excited about like what we're
mhm,
doing and they like that and they get it and just explaining sometimes, this is why I can, we, go fishing on a Wednesday in the summer all day because, we have this kind of flexibility. So I'm way more thankful and um,
mm,
glad that this is what we do versus
mhm.
other roles, and they get it, and I think you know life of being a family member of someone in real estate is you know we get to dinner somewhere, and that's when someone calls you back, so you've got to come outside, and there's a work life balance that you should try to separate. Um, I
Yeah.
haven't gotten great at that yet.
You can talk to us. I'll help you with that.
Just like
Um,
shutting things off and just
yeah.
saying,
Well, I mean, and I think, the emotions come up strongly, and I get that because the difference, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is when you're with your kids, but you can't be with your kids, it makes it much harder than if you were just at an office. Like if you just left,
oh yes, yeah, out
if
of
you
sight, out
just
of mind, kind of.
leave for the day, you do your job. So when you're at home, you're at home. When you're at work, you're at work. And I know that a lot of times when you're trying to when you're working from home and you and your wife are balancing the responsibilities, so there aren't those like clear cut lines.
Yeah,
It does get blurry and you want to be present, and I know one of the things that Ed used to deal with a lot more when he was in a lot more production with us, and that we have 2 boys, they're 10 and 12 now. Um, is he really had a challenge working from home, because of that reason. Like he had a hard time separating it. So he would always go into an office, and then of course, he would go into the office, work, come home, put the kids to bed, help with dinner, and then go back into the office, shut the door, and
yeah,
finish working for the rest of the night, and he had some good boundaries with when I'm in this room with the door shut, I'm working, and your wife has the room with the door shut. So we just need to get you a room with the door.
yeah.
But
No, it's a good point.
But it's true because if you're out in the open, those kids don't know, they don't understand. But I
Yeah,
think, gosh, I love what you said about getting them involved, showing them what you do, teaching them about, real estate. I think that's brilliant. And they will never forget that for sure.
yeah. It's fun. And then you'll try to explain. Okay, this is what's rent and why do people want to rent and why are you buying this house to rent it to someone else and just
Mhm.
trying to. So it's funny. It actually helps me explain it to clients when I try to figure out how to explain it to my kids of what investing is and why would you want to do that. So we bought this house because we just we bought an investment double in Tremont, and
Oh,
so we're kind of going through that right now. And I brought my oldest over to do landscape with me the other day, just to like knock down some weeds and stuff.
mhm.
And just trying to explain, like it's really funny when you try to explain it because it seems easy for us to understand as adults, but like a kid, like, why we're buying this house, but we're not going to stay in it.
Yeah.
Are we ever going to go to it? I'm like, no, probably not. And so it's just funny having those conversations with them. But
Mhm.
yeah, and then we drove by houses and they'll see a sign. They're like, "Are you selling that one?" I'm like, "No, I'm not." I'm like, "Do you know that? Do you know that agent?" And I may or may not. Like, well, what do you like them? Are they your friend? So it's
Oh my
just
God.
keeping them open, their eyes open to what this business is, because I think there's so many different avenues you could go in it that are exciting. And
Yeah, that's funny you say that when they see the sign and they ask. Like, there was a point where we were walking through my neighborhood and the boys saw a sign of another brokerage, and it wasn't, our sign.
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, who signs that? That's not daddy's." I mean, they always say daddy's, and I'm always
Mhm.
like, hello,
Mm. Yeah,
I'm part of
forget
this
about me.
too. We do this together, but I'm still trying to teach them that. We'll someday get there. But they started walking by the other brokerage's sign and like going boo, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh no, that is not what we need to teach them. And so we're trying to say, like, hey, it's okay, there's enough business to go around, and there's a reason that they got that property, and they're going to do a great job and help those folks. And I'm like, oh gosh.
Oh gosh, you handle
I
that so
love their
nicely.
enthusiasm.
I'd boo with them. I'd be like, "I know, like, it's not right, is it? This should be
well
dad's." And they're like, "Yeah, it should be."
well Ed
Uh,
always says, those agents needed to get that listing. They needed it for a reason more than me, and that's good for them. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's such a better person than I am, Jeff.
yeah, geez,
He really is. I
man.
know. We're all learning from him.
Yeah,
So
that's, good life lessons from Ed.
yeah, yeah. Yes. I definitely initially would boo. So the challenges are tough, and it can be highly stressful. You mentioned like balancing when you're out and when you're on vacation. And I know, like you mentioned, you're already leveraging a transaction coordinator. I mean, I think leverage is the name of the game, and everybody has different ways of leveraging, right? What other types of leverage do you and Cassie use? Is there leverage at home? Do you have friends and family? Do you hire certain people for the house? Like, what other things do you guys do?
I think one of the big ones in the last year is, just kind of employing younger agents to show houses when I can't.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
that's been huge.
Yeah.
I have a couple really good ones who I can call on, um, and then I'll, because look, I think sometimes what they get paid to show a house, like, it's not a lot, and it's not, you can't pay your bills just showing houses. So, I'll throw her some leads and stuff too of people who, other buyer leads and stuff, just so that, she stays readily available and willing to do that, because it's so hard to find. You can put it, we've got probably the same as you guys have, like an email or a Facebook page for your brokerage, and hey, can anyone do this showing on Saturday at 4? But she's just been so good that I could even see working with her down the road and at some sort of different capacity where it's more of an official
Yeah.
part of you know my business specifically.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
that's been really huge. Same for inspections.
Mhm.
I just spoke with an agent recently from a leverage perspective, and he was sending someone to do all the photos too, and just
Mhm.
I would always go to the photo shoots for listings, but it ends up being a couple hours, and I don't need to be there. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have good people that you trust. So
Yeah.
that's another one I've recently started doing that saved a lot of time. So it's really any of those ancillary services that I don't
Mhm.
feel like I need to be there for, and that's hard. As a I still think I'm kind of a newer agent to give up some of that. Um, that you have to be there kind of mentality when you don't. If you explain it and set the expectations up front with your clients, like they need to know that up front and not just throwing someone new in halfway through.
Right.
So that's been huge. Just Cassie yourself is a big piece of leverage for all of this, just with family stuff. If I have something I really have to do,
Mhm.
she finds a way. He's never complained once. Has always just been like, okay, just we
Mhm.
gotta do what we gotta do. We're lucky, and one of the reasons we moved back here from Columbus, because I grew up in Westlake in this area, is having family. Like, so my mom's a big help. She'll go run signs for me sometimes. She'll pick up stuff. I pay her, just so everyone knows. I don't just take advantage of mom, although she would do it for free. Um, so that's been another leverage item. We're looking right now. This is like a home leverage thing, but the amount of laundry that we do as a
Mm.
family of five, like I think we should leverage that out in some way. Um,
Yeah, that is one thing that I struggled with for a long time, but now my 12-year-old has learned how to fold laundry and I pay
oh,
him really well and
that's so
he's
nice.
super, super money motivated. So he folds all the laundry and it's changed my life. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like a cleaning person to help come clean your home.
Hmm.
Some
Yeah.
cleaning services will do your laundry. I know ours does like our sheets, they fold the sheets. They don't do our laundry, but every so often they'll fold baskets if I leave them out. So sometimes I strategically leave them out.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea. We should have somebody to at least fold. That would be kind of nice.
But
But it's
I'm
really,
it's hard though. I think a lot of people have a mentality that like if I don't clean my own house or if I don't mow my own lawn, um, I'm lazy
yep.
or I'm acting too good. But the thing is we really have to look at our dollar per hour time and how much is our time worth? Do we want to spend our entire day on a Saturday doing lawns or should we be just playing with our kids and enjoying our family?
Yep.
Um, and so that's the kind of things we have to think about when we're talking about leverage. We finally, I mean, we've had a person come clean our house. We have
Mhm.
someone do our lawn because there are way more things that I'd rather be doing than those things because our time is so limited, right? Um,
Yeah.
and our kids are still need a lot. Do you still mow your own lawn?
No. No,
Good.
I gave that up a while ago.
Uh,
I like doing it too. It's
I
just
know we do too. It's just
um,
time.
with sports is just
Yeah.
our youngest just got into things this year, so now it's all three, and so it's just too much on the weekends. There's enough going on, and then just the business things you have to do on the weekends too that come up that need
Yeah.
attention. You can't, there's only so many hours. So yeah, that's the last one we're trying to do is some sort of laundry resource.
Well, we could start our own company, you know.
Yes,
It's
that
a
and a plumber.
subsidiary money making company, and we'll go after all the real estate agents first.
They would absolutely do it. All right, I'm in. I only want 25%, Julie.
All right, let's do it. Let's
You
start
you
something.
got the rest.
We can, I mean, we run our own businesses. We can start some new ones.
Yeah. Yeah, I've made enough
Um,
mistakes. I can find a couple more.
yeah. So I guess the other question is, what would be the most rewarding part? I mean,
Hmm.
we talked about the challenges and the support that you need. What's the most rewarding part of
I think
a
I
career in
think
real estate?
I think it's allowing myself to leverage and spend money on leverage so that I can hang out with family more. I think um, you know, closing a house or getting a house for someone in a really competitive offer situation, or bringing 4 or 5 great offers to a seller who's just can't even believe this great news. I think those are great too, but the most rewarding thing is being, knock on wood, successful so far that I can continue to do this and have the
Mhm.
flexibility, even though there are, guilts and times when you can't do it all. But I mean, from most, dads out there, I get to do way more than any of my friends do with family. So
Yeah.
I think that's the most rewarding thing
Yeah.
is setting up a process and plan to be successful in this so that I can continue to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Starts with a database and a good
Oh
marketing
yeah, I mean,
plan.
there's a web of things to get to that.
Yes, making sure that you're like locking that foundation of that first 5 years in place, which I know that you're doing. Um, so, what would be some inspiration? What would you tell other fathers, you know, that
Mm,
are in real estate and raising young kids like you are, kind of dealing with the same, you know, guilt, the same stressors, the same like, oh my gosh, if I have to have another conversation with my wife about scheduling. I mean,
Hmm.
that can
Oh
be
yeah,
hard
they're not
too.
always pretty either. Like they're not,
No,
you
it's
know, it's at
not.
night and I don't want to talk about like Wednesday's schedule.
It's
Um,
not romantic. It really
no.
isn't. It doesn't like spark the relationship when you're just like, who's going where, who's going here, who's going there. I mean, and that's a big challenge too for us, right?
Mhm.
We're in the thick of parenting. So, what inspiration would you give to other fathers? Who are
I
doing
think you just have to remind yourself that if you do the work in this business, you will most likely be successful, and then you are afforded the time that others don't have or and won't ever have.
that?
Um, I think that's it. You know, it's that reminding that you have the ability to do this stuff,
Mhm.
to have this time with them, to coach everything that I want to coach, um, and and so kind of it makes the mundane day to day things that you have to do, um, kind of like your reminder why you're doing it and why you're doing it, who you're doing it for, too. That if I, get through these database calls today, it's going to lead to business that's going to let me do more stuff with them. Um,
Absolutely.
and I think being your own boss is,
Mhm.
until you get into it, I mean, it's very, very hard, but it's so rewarding from its perspective that, like, my wife, she's like she has no say in so many things that she may disagree with in her company, but it doesn't matter. So I have all those responsibility or all those exciting aspects of this role.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and I, I can't tell you how many people that I've heard recently that have been let go from their job after however many years, and that's really tough, But we don't ever have to be let go from our jobs, right? We're in charge of our own destiny, and when you've worked in corporate America, you're watching your wife work in it. Even the struggles that we deal with on a daily basis, which the struggles are real. You know,
Hmm.
making phone calls, doing prospecting, doing the networking so your business isn't a roller coaster, because there's a lot of pressure still to provide and to make those sales, and it's not always consistent. So, making sure you're doing that far outweighs having to answer to someone else, right? And that's why we're doing this in the first place. And like you said, you can go fishing on a Wednesday, and you can include your family in on the family business because this is your family business and you're all part of it, which I've loved that aspect, with our boys. This real estate is not a 9 to 5 job. You don't clock in, you don't clock out. It's all encompassing. It's a lifestyle.
Hmm.
And when you embrace that and you find the proper leverage and the proper people to align with and the right tools, and you have support, it's awesome. You have a supportive, loving wife.
Hmm.
Like, we can do this job, this career at the highest level possible. And like you said, succeed and help clients at the highest level. Will it always be all happy and hunky dory? No. Will we have tough days? Yes. Will we want to quit and go work for someone else all the
Yeah.
time? But
Yes.
then we have to remind ourselves, why are we here? What are we doing this for? And I think that's the balancing act, right?
Hmm.
You-
Yeah. I don't think it's always going to be a work in progress on balancing act and,
Yes.
um, managing the emotions and the roller coasters of a great month followed by a really bad month. I mean,
Mhm.
there's just times like that, and, um, but I'm so happy that I did it, that I'm in it, that we're in it, and thankful for it, because I think in real estate too, there's just a lot of different avenues you can go to. You can just maybe you just dig, investors and helping people make money in real estate, or there's a lot of different things that I love about this.
Yeah, and we love that you're in this industry because you're an excellent agent and you service your clients at the highest level, and you're fabulous to work with on the other side, hopefully we get to work with you more often.
Yeah, I've
And
had
I'm
a couple
so,
good ones recently with you guys.
yeah, and it's always fun. I mean, so I think in our industry, having other professionals who take this, very seriously and make sure that they're highly trained, that's so important to us. And I know that's you. And Jeff, I wanted to ask you if there are any fathers who are listening who want to connect with you or pick your brain about how you've been, leveraging or adjusting to this industry. How can someone best reach you?
Anytime for sure. I'd be happy to speak to anyone. Phone, text. My number is 216-990-3200. Text or call anytime. You can find me on any of the social media type platforms. But I really do love talking about it with,
Mhm.
even new agents or people who are considering the business. I think it's fun to talk about, what we love about it, what I love about it, and and the challenges too. I don't sugarcoat it. I mean, I think you just and then you have to do the work. Um, you have to go out of your way to care and provide great service. I think if you do those two things alone, it would be it's which is exciting. I think it's really hard to fail if you are doing those things consistently.
Yeah.
Um, and that's
And
usually my pitch to new agents is like those two things, if nothing else.
yeah, and fight for your boundaries and
Yes, yes.
fight hard for those boundaries and really get good at that. And I can tell, you know, you've gotten to that point where when you do have to leave the table. I would say never leave the table because you know what? No emergency in real estate is life or death. Everybody will be okay.
It's
And
true, but Julie, I have a problem. I don't disagree, but then if I'm not present when I'm
yeah,
sitting there because I'm thinking about that, I think I'm almost maybe not worse, but I'm not really there. I'm like sitting there, but I'm not there. And so I feel like if I can go and be gone for 15 or 20 minutes, but then come back and be present. I mean, at least that's how I worked it out in my head to deal with it. I mean, I don't know if it's right, but that's
well, I mean, I think that that is a good point because that's the truth. Is it if you allow it to take up time in your brain, yeah, you
mhm,
won't be present with your family. And I think that's the evolution is trying to say, you know what? I don't need to allow this to take time in my brain. I'm not going to think about it until this time. And that's a challenge. I'm not going to say it's easy, but I know that's something that, Ed and I work on because I'll want to bring things up at dinner or talk about
mhm,
our job. And he'll say, let's talk about this at this time. Let's think about
mhm,
it at this time, and that has helped my brain adjust. So again, there is no perfect right way, and you know what your family is okay with and what they're not. And it's a balancing act. If your family's like, "Oh, I'm so sick of you leaving the dinner table," then yeah, maybe you need
mhm.
to
Yeah.
figure out how to just put that aside and say, you know what, this isn't more important and that person can wait. And we just it's hard and we are all people pleasers and we want everyone to be
Mhm.
happy at the highest
Yeah.
level possible
Yeah, we are. That's exactly what it is. To
at
a
our
fault.
own expense, right?
Yeah, to a
But
fault.
yeah. Well, Jeff, you're amazing. You're doing awesome. And you have an awesome family. And I'm so thankful for you. So I appreciate your time. And
Yeah,
again, if
nice,
anyone
really
wants
nice
to,
speaking with you.
yeah, and if anyone wants to get a hold of Jeff, I will make sure to put his information in the notes. And thank you so much. Have an awesome
Yes,
day.
super good to connect, Julie. I hope to see you soon.
All right. Take care.
Okay, you too. Bye bye.